Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an Awards Watch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at Awards Watch, and joining me, as always, is the guy riding shotgun with me this week, my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Wow, we've been in the Malick zone for so long. Can't believe we're finally moving on. I'm pumped. Carl Franklin. I feel like an under-discussed filmmaker.
I've been swirly and twirly for the last 2 months. I'm dizzy, man. It's like when we're already starting here. Here we go. Like when you're at a kid and they make you do the baseball bat turn thing and everything.
Yeah, little dizzy
little dizzy bat, and then they're like, go run straight in a straight line now. That's how we're supposed to do this podcast now. We've been dizzy, floating, seeing water and God and earth and all this stuff, and now we're here to talk about Carl Franklin, which is a complete swerve away from Malick.
Hey, we're kind of easing into it. We kind of get some Western.
He's got some flourishes,
energy in this one.
Some noir.
So so it's gonna be exciting. This really is. This is one of those series where it is cool, not just because I haven't seen all of these films, but because this isn't something that people have heard 1,000 times, right?
Yeah.
If you talk about Paul Thomas Anderson or something, I love talking about Paul Thomas Anderson, but it's like people kind of know what they think about Paul Thomas Anderson. With a Carl Franklin, maybe people are watching a lot of these movies for the first time, following along, and that's exciting. And we get to give the definitive Carl Franklin takes.
God damn it.
And that's exciting.
Yeah. They want us to give the definitive Carl Franklin
takes. I'm saying.
That's
glad you agree.
God. You're gonna get us in so much trouble doing that shit. Don't do that. I will say this, Jay. I think that this is the reason why our show exists. More than talking about some of our favorite directors or these elder statesmen, is to talk about some of the lesser known
it
directors.
Exists for Terrence Malick. You're lucky I'm even back after that.
Okay, that's fair. No, I think that this is something we try to do, is to talk about directors that maybe we haven't seen full filmographies of. Obviously, some directors have some big films, and Franklin, we're doing a three movie series here, and they're his biggest hits. But it's also, I think, going to be a really interesting examination to talk about his work and his career through the lens of the Hollywood sort of machine. And also, I think what happened to a lot of directors of color, American directors of color specifically, that have early hits and then are given more and more their blank checks, and they fly probably too close to the sun, or they are not seen as important as maybe the first two films that we're going to talk about in this series, but then they're kind of stuck in this way station.
He's in the TV zone.
He's in the big TV zone now. Like, he is.
Some people might say that when you're a black filmmaker, you're only allowed one false move.
Oh, for God's sakes.
And then you get two, and you're making Band of Brothers or The Pacific.
Or like, what was the series he's doing right now? He's doing a bunch. Like, he
works.
He does work. He is a consistent.
He just works in the shadows.
He does work in the shadows.
Manhunt. He was doing
Manhunt.
He did a lot. Or he did an episode of Dahmer.
He just did. That new series, Monster.
That's the.
The one about. Okay, so it's like oh my God, I have to explain this to Jay. This is gonna be great. So Monster, which is the series that Ryan Murphy created on Netflix about like the serial killers, right, or murderers. And so the first season was about Jeffrey Dahmer, right? And
Evan
Peters played that.
Yes. He directed. Dahmer is like the Monster is a series.
It's a series now because they did Jeffrey Dahmer.
Of course, it's Ryan Murphy, so it's like going to be. It's the same title, but sort of a different
Feud
story
or American
vibe.
Horror Story. You know what I mean, or stuff like that. So first season was American Crime Story. Yes. So the first series was Dahmer, obviously Evan Peters, and now they're doing the Menendez brothers, and he did the first 2 episodes of that, and then they just announced that Charlie Hunnam's going to play Ed Gein in in series 3, which Ed Gein, as anybody knows, was the inspiration for Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and he did along those same lines. He did several episodes of Mindhunter.
yes, and he also, speaking of working with Ryan Murphy,
He's directed a lot of TV shows I like.
he did this American sports story about Aaron Hernandez. He did the first 2 episodes of that. Yeah, he did the first 2 episodes of that.
Oh, that would look so bad.
He also did 4 episodes of The Leftovers.
Yes, a show I adore.
He did a lot of the Amy Brenneman episodes,
Mm.
following Lori. So, which is great. I kind of like that, actually, about like a director specifically following that one character.
No, that's cool.
And
Establishing
having
the vision for that.
The vision for that
cool.
that person's world. That was
that
actually
character's point of view. That's
it's
cool.
probably because Damon Lindelof knows what he's doing. He's pretty good at his job. He's got a new show
most of the time.
Most of the time on TV. He does.
Yeah.
Like, when has he made a bad TV show?
I don't know. Probably has.
I mean,
probably haven't watched all of them.
Jay, do you know that?
I know I haven't.
Not to get into more side tangents, we really should talk about this movie soon here real quick.
He wrote an episode of Phineas and Ferb.
There you go. Did you know that it's 20 years this year since the beginning of Lost?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, have you watched Mrs. Davis on Peacock?
Is that the Betty Gilpin show?
Yes.
The fact that I pulled that out. Sometimes I'm amazed.
That was impressive. That was very good.
That I pull out of my head. It's wild. No, I never got to see it. They never sent me screeners, and I'm not paying for Peacock. Sorry. I can only, there's so many streaming
It's actually
services,
done less TV than I thought.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so many services to pay for.
It's insane. We actually consolidated a little bit. We're currently taking a break from Max, actually.
From Max?
Max is expensive.
But that's the one you got to get. That's the great one.
I disagree.
It's where you got your TCM. You don't have to get TCM. You can just, all those classic movies.
I got so many Criterions I haven't watched.
That's fair. I think if anything,
watch the stuff that I
got to tell you, the one that I think I might get rid of, Netflix.
We almost did that, but there's some stuff my son likes on Netflix.
That's fair.
So we kept Disney Plus.
What do you got?
We kept
Disney
Netflix,
Plus, Hulu. Do you do the bundle?
We just switched over to Hulu Live TV, which comes with ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and then Hulu Premium.
Hulu has live sports.
Hulu has live sports. That's the only reason I need live TV, and so we got it. And I was sick and tired of Comcast. So,
yeah, I have a Spectrum TV, and it's expensive. But then
Cable's so expensive.
But then I start thinking about also, when you add it up, it's actually not much of a difference if you want all these services. So it's damn if you do,
as opposed to having cable.
Yeah,
but you couldn't watch your Longhorns.
I know. That's why I need it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? And because then you have to buy Fox's thing, and you have to, and I've done the Sling TV before, and I've done the other ones, and I'm just like, I end up going back to the cable. Though I usually end up getting a good deal because I call them. See, you got to call them.
Oh my God. I just did that. I was on the phone for 4 hours, and I ended up being like, you know what? I don't want this.
You got
to get Hulu. Thank you.
See, you got to, I highly recommend Spectrum. They're always great, and they always
not available here.
Not available. AT&T.
AT&T is here.
I like them. They're good too. They're they always give you year-long deals on your stuff, and then if you say, I got this budget, I'm not going over this, but I want these things, they usually give it to you.
I'd like to apologize to Carl Franklin.
You said we were giving him the definitive take, and this is what we're doing. But this is also
a great start.
This is the madness of just Jay and I being back on this series. Jay, we're here to talk about Carl Franklin's first film in this series. It's not his first film in his filmography, but we're talking about 3 of his films. We're talking about One False Move, Devil in a Blue Dress, and Out of Time. Very limited series, but also we will talk about most of those films in his filmography.
If you can find them.
If you can find them. Have you been scouring the high seas for some of them?
There's one that Ryan, I can find some stuff.
I know you can.
And this has been, the treasure hunt has not been fruitful
Yeah,
in
well,
for
some
with
say
one of
you
these
are
films.
the Captain Jack Sparrow of podcasting.
Hey, look, if a video is not or if a movie is not available via new hard copy or any sort of updated
Physical media.
physical media, I'm
Hmm.
not afraid to go find it.
Yeah.
Okay. Watched
Are
one of
you?
these on YouTube.
Yeah, I watched when I did my Shyamalan piece. I watched his first film on a very grainy, what do you call it? Just print of his first film, and for an hour and a half, I was like squinting and trying to
Yeah.
see like, does it
Is that a
look good?
person?
And what?
Is that a person or is that
Yeah.
like a
Is that
scarecrow?
is that like intended to look like that? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know what I mean?
Really
Which
bold of M. Night Shyamalan to shoot this in 280p.
more like 140.
Yeah.
Like, it's really bad. Did he shoot it on an iPhone, like the original iPhone before they
No,
even
he shot it
existed?
on a Polaroid camera.
Exactly.
He
Oh,
took
like you
all
had
of
to
these
turn
pictures
it
consecutively. Yeah. And then he had
like
to shake
the
them
one
off, blow on them.
the one that you have to like when you take your photo, you have to go
Yeah,
you know what I mean
exactly.
in order to get that. Okay. Wow, what an editing. Again, I'm sorry to Carl Franklin. Anyway, we're here to talk about these films. Jay, I don't know. You said that you haven't seen most of these, right? Is that correct? Are you
I
going in
have
blind for the
only
most part?
seen one of these.
Okay.
Only seen one.
And it's not the film that we're talking about today,
Not the one we're
obviously.
going to talk
Okay.
about today.
Not a lot of books either, I would assume,
No, not a ton of research to be done on Carl Franklin, unfortunately.
unfortunately.
No books really written
Though he
about him
is
yet.
though he is getting a bit of a reevaluation because One False Move, Devil in a Blue Dress have entered the Criterion Collection. He has had
Hmm.
a guest spot since this since the time of the release of this episode. He's had introductions and conversations with Turner Classic Movies before his films premiered on Turner Classic Movies, which was great. And so it almost felt like it was a fortuitous sort of event for us to be able to do
It is, but the
this.
last movie anybody has ever heard of that he made came out over 20 years ago.
I know. Well, it's because of the system,
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
it's really messed up that he's one of many directors. We have, as most of our folks probably know, we have a rough outline of next year, and we have another set of directors potentially that we will cover that is just like him in the similar boat of where did they and these movies are not box office disasters by any stretch of the imagination. It's just something about they get put over there. I mean, it's no
I
different
don't
than
know that he. I
I
mean,
mean, like John Singleton,
his box office history is not
but
particularly sterling.
it's not like it burned down the studio
It's
or
pretty bad.
anything. I mean,
But
like look at John Singleton. He even had hits in his career, and he,
yeah,
but towards the end of his life, sadly was doing a lot of
you ever watch
television. He
that
was
last one, the Taylor Lautner movie?
what is it? It's called like the recruit or
No, it's like one. It's like one word.
like runaway,
Ah,
like
no,
escape.
no.
What's
Gosh darn it! You're gonna make me look this up.
cutaway? On the run,
Abduction? Is that what it's called?
abduction, abandon,
That sounds right.
abduction,
Yes, abduction. It's called
abduction.
abduction.
Okay, sorry. See, we got
You
there,
start with an
folks.
A.
Yeah, it's. I knew it was like one word, but I just wanted to keep messing with
Hmm.
you. But I
That is
feel
one
like
of the
that's
worst movies I've ever seen.
is it.
It's so bad. Oh my god.
So highly recommend.
Yeah, we're doing a Singleton series.
Okay, we should one day. I think it would be interesting.
He's made some good
Uh,
stuff.
he made some good stuff.
Honestly, it is really sad when because there are times where we want to cover under discussed diverse filmmakers, and sometimes you'll go down this rabbit hole of just who's a African American filmmaker we could cover, and it is bleak.
It's
The amount of
bleak.
people who have given the opportunity to make enough movies to make a really robust series, it's hard. I mean, and I'm excited to cover Carl Franklin because he is under discussed, but like you said, how did this guy lose the ability to make movies in 2003?
Yeah,
It's
with
ridiculous.
with two of his biggest films having the biggest movie star on the planet as as his lead actor.
Yeah,
in
he had
Denzel
an in. He
Washington.
had an in with the big
And
stars, and they just stopped letting him make movies.
yeah, and
And I'll
it's
try and look more into what exactly
by the
happened,
time we
if
get to
there
out of
is
time.
any explanation for it beyond bias,
But
right?
also too, I mean,
But
we've
I
talked
don't know.
about it. It's also about the availability, and I think this is a great conversation. I mean, back to your sort of our silly, stupid pirate joke, but it is the truth of that. We've tried to set up ones before, other directors. That'd be just very interesting to talk about. Very diverse in terms of their filmography and what they're saying from movie to movie. But the movies in between that we'd like to talk about to be completist or to give the audience a full perspective of an entire career, movies are gone. They're just abandoned or discarded, or you can't even get, pirated prints of these things. And it speaks to, obviously, Jay, the larger problem of older movies, or, that's why, I'm not trying to shame you in getting Max taken off, but it's one of the only streaming services, and this is a streaming problem, that actually has older classic movies on their streaming platform, because if it's not from like the 80s and maybe some of the 70s on to now, those are what dominate streaming platforms and really what the
Yeah,
viewers see. And I get things that are made 50, 60, 70 years ago don't entice people. But it does entice us, and it
it's
makes the
history.
job a little bit harder, to do. And I will say, I mean, obviously, it's not been perfect, but we are getting more and more diverse names behind the camera in modern context. But we
Agreed.
don't want to just always do modern filmmakers, because we like to know where we got
I
to.
like I
I like some,
prefer older stuff, I would say, as a rule, mostly because it's a lot
yeah,
of discovery and stuff, and then then you do a Terrence Malick and it's like, yeah, that was the best
yeah,
because it's old and new.
yeah. It's
How about that?
yeah. I mean, it's
Been
like
directed movies for 50 years.
yeah, I mean, it's like when we did Haynes, and it's like that starts in the 90s and it's 30 years. You know what I mean?
I think when the Jesus movie comes out, we just need to end the podcast. I think that's the finale.
Which one are you talking about?
Malick's Jesus movie.
Oh, Malik's. Well, I mean, Jay,
So
there's
2031.
there's multiple Jesus movies being made at this
That's
moment.
true. This is a golden age of Jesus.
Yeah. uh To Passion to Christ is coming soon. Anyway,
It's because of us, Ryan. We've
it's
talked
because
about
of us.
Gibson
We
and
keep
Caviezel
putting it out
so
there.
much.
Yes. Oh my God. We're like, why is the Google searches up? It's because of this stupid show. But anyway, we're here to talk about Carl Franklin. You for myself and for you, I think we're using this as a chance to discover a lot. And
Mhm.
you had seen Devil in a Blue Dress, I assume before. No, was it not Devil in a
No,
Blue
I had
Dress?
that's
Oh,
the only
okay.
one I'd seen. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. So this is a chance to obviously discover. So, Jay, for yourself, this isn't the first, and we're going to talk about One False Move now. But before we get into One False Move, he had some other films, and this is where Jay's,
hmm
um, his research comes into it. For yourself, Jay, what did you learn about Franklin before this? And then also his first couple of movies before One False Move were.
Yeah, and I mean, this is not Malick. I don't have 6 books to do research off of, and 70
He's
pages
actually
on the
writing
production
Carl
of every
Franklin's
one of his
book
movies.
right now, actually.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen 2 of them or 3 of them so far, so I'm pretty sure I can write the definitive kind of biography on him.
Well, you're
But
saying we're making the definitive podcast, so you might as well
well,
make
we
the
are, but it'll
definitive book.
it'll build,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
gonna. This is just the first brick in
yeah,
our definitive take that will become a cathedral.
yes.
So, no, as far as Franklin is concerned, he's from California. I believe he's from just outside of San Francisco. Grew up in kind of a bad neighborhood. Had what I believe was a pretty abusive stepfather. Apparently, a pretty bad alcoholic, but he was really ambitious from a young age, and his goal growing up was to be the first person in his family that ever went to college. And boy, did he ever! Ended up going to Cal Berkeley, and at first he wanted to study history. That was where his interests lied, but over time he ended up being a theater major. So he started acting. And until he started actually directing movies, he was just sort of a working actor. He was on like the A Team and a bunch of just procedural TV shows, The Incredible Hulk, The Rockford Files, MacGyver. He was on. He was just on all sorts of. He was on Alf. Look at that. He was on 2 episodes of Alf as Dr. Willoughby. So,
Alf, good show.
he was really getting after it. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's an ironic Alf movie to be made at some point.
Someone's gonna make an Alf, like the Lonely Island will make Alf.
I think they could do it like kind of 21 Jump Street style, maybe.
Or like Chip
Kinda
and
like
Dale
that.
Rescue Rangers.
Nah, that'd be good. I like that
That would
movie.
be right. Yeah, I like it. That's fun.
But eventually he decides, I want to make movies. So where does he enroll? Connection to Terrence Malick,
AFI the
AFI
Conservatory.
Conservatory.
Yep.
So he goes there and starts making stuff. He made this short film called Punk that was apparently pretty kind of gritty, and I think it's like a half-hour long. He said that maybe he wants to eventually make a long film, a full film out of it, a feature-length film. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And he makes Punk, and then where does he kind of end up as far as starting his feature film career? How about the guy who's discovered just more important directors than maybe anybody ever? Roger Corman. He's directing garbage. And he just has to prove that he can direct garbage, and then you get to graduate out of the Roger Corman school and make real movies. So the first film that he made, which Ryan, I believe you watched on YouTube as I did,
Mhm.
was a film called Eye of the Eagle 2, Inside the Enemy in
Hell yeah.
1989. I must admit, I have not seen Eye of the Eagle 1.
It was hard to find.
I just simply do not have the patience to watch that. So let's talk about Eye of the Eagle 2, Inside the Enemy. Ryan, and there's one very interesting thing about this film.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about it very briefly, but why don't you just tell me what you thought about it?
Well, the interesting thing is the person I assume you is in the cast and is in the movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is another young filmmaker that you and I both love that we've talked about potentially covering in a 3-film movie series, much like this. And that is the oh God, what's his name? Nick
Todd
Nightingale.
Field.
Nick Nightingale himself.
Yes.
Todd Field.
He's
in
the
this
lead.
Movie. He's the lead of this
movie.
Yeah, and he's acting.
He's doing stuff. I will say this about this movie. It is, I mean,
it is what it is.
It is
for what it is.
5 degrees more interested in interesting stuff than this schlocky type movie would generally be interested in, I think. So it's this war movie, and I don't really even know what else there is to say about it. It's a Vietnam movie, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I will say this about it. It's kind of like, to describe this for the audience, to sort of water it down, even though like Jay's done a great job at describing it. This is like Piranha 2 at the time, for James Cameron, where like a director takes a job
because this is how it used to be.
Yeah,
done.
this is how it used to be. Like, where, you could either, like, before you could scrap stuff together and put something together, and
now it's like I have to define my vision with my first movie, or I will never get to make a movie.
You need to have something on the resume. Like, a resume matters. Like, if you're at a conservatory,
this is a starter job. Yeah,
this is for you to get your feet wet
like
before
Steven
you
Spielberg
jump into
directing TV.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a perfect example, because he's doing, like, Spielberg did TV and he did a couple of films, but people just think he jumped right into Jaws. And like, Duel and Sugarland Express exists, and like those are good movies within themselves.
Like the TV show episodes that no one will ever see that he
directed. Exactly.
Right? Like Friedkin was that same way.
Exactly. Like he freaking did like 5 movies for like Boys in the Band. You know what I mean? And you have to work your way up and also sharpen yourself.
What's Scorsese's first movie? What's that thing called?
Oh man, he did like 3 home movies. Like you can get him on Criterion, right? And then he did like,
what was the Corman movie he did?
Oh God, I can't remember.
It was like the little Western movie.
It's like Boxcar Bertha.
Yes, that's it.
Boxcar Bertha. Like stuff like that.
That's the one I think of, where it's like, I just want to get money to make a Hollywood film, please.
Spike was the same way. Like he went to school and he had his shorts, and this is kind of that.
Spike was a little
But
different.
Spike was like
Spike was Spike after his first movie.
Yeah, well, he had the shorts and everything, and that's where people were like,
sure,
we can give you the money for the full thing now. And Franklin was different. He because that's in LA, and and that was in New York for Spike. And it's just like, well, you meet Corman, you meet somebody, he goes, I like your stuff, kid. Let's do a bunch of the stuff. You do a bunch of things, you sharpen your tools, and then yeah, if you're able to like a movie like this, which is a pretty empty movie, and pretty thankless film, you're able to maybe put your own spin on it. And it's only 78 minutes, so it's not like 4 hours long and super like just unwatchable. But I mean, like, it is what it is. It's pretty low stakes, low budget war movie, and you have to like find a way to focus on the characters and focus on finding actors with interesting perspectives. And I think that that's like him finding field here is a good way to look forward into like what makes him so great, which is that the rest of this thing may not work around me, but at least I've got this one central performance here to at least engage an audience. And it also helps that he's a guy that's maybe made the best film of this past decade, and also like worked with Kubrick down the road a decade later and a bunch of other stuff. Like, it helps that he was a talent from the get-go. But yes, this is a pretty like thankless.
It is more concerned with character than you would expect it,
because like in a war movie like this, you're expecting it's not Thin Red Line or anything, you know what I mean?
No, you can understand why somebody would watch this and be like, okay, there's something
all
here.
Right, and he did it under budget and on time. Cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the other thing. Like, these movies are quick and easy.
That's the Corman thing too.
That's the Corman too. It's like it sets you
up
to
understand
with, like,
the mechanics
exactly, and you're able to consistently make something on time, on budget, and work within a collaborative experience enough for them to be like, okay, well, now what do you really want to make? And so he does this a couple of times. And this movie is like, I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's not the movie we're talking about.
It way
too longer than we should have, but it's an interesting film to show
I
about.
honestly couldn't even give you a descriptive. I couldn't tell you a detailed.
It's just it's just a watered down Vietnam sort of war movie.
For me, it's sort of the thing that kind of is most similar to a little bit is maybe Full Metal Jacket, kind of, where it's about this ensemble coming together, and there's some training stuff at the beginning, but I think it's like 78 minutes long. I mean, it's short.
Well, for sure it is.
And then he makes another movie, which is impossible to find. Another Corman joint starring David Carradine. It's called Nowhere to Run. It's some sort of thriller. That's all I got for you. Because
this is Nowhere to Find. Nowhere to Find. Actually.
Nowhere to run to see the movie.
Exactly.
It's nowhere to be found.
Bingo.
So I it's disappointing. I wanted to watch it. The completist in me is like itching to find it somewhere, but I couldn't be found. So that brings us to the film that we're talking about today. Both of those films were actually released in 1989. And this film, One False Move, came out in 1990.
Well, he also did Full Fathom 5.
Yeah, which is one that it doesn't even really show another up one that on his.
He worked with Field there again, by the way.
Yeah, it's
like a
that one. If you look at his Wikipedia page, that movie is so non-existent that they forgot to put it on his filmography.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he sort of it's about like this U.S. invasion of Panama, and it's based off a novel. And Field worked with them again, 82 minutes, shot it in Peru, like
Roger Corman
again. Like it's actually, I gotta say this, and it's just a really
did you watch
smart
this
movie.
one?
No. I'm just
I was like, man.
No, I did my research.
You beat me.
I mean, like, if I would have found it, I would have sent it to you.
Yeah,
obviously. True. I mean, it's only 82 minutes. And I was looking for those two films because I wanted to watch them, because I kind of, even though like Eye of the Eagle 2 is not a particularly good movie, the process, you love process, I love process.
You gotta love it.
The process of getting to this movie, One False Move, that we're here to talk about today, is a fascinating journey that not many directors go on anymore.
No, it's not. And interestingly, after all those features that we just talked about, really what got him this gig was his AFI thesis film, Punk. The producers of the movie saw that, liked it, and they thought he would be a good fit for One False Move. They had the rights to it, and they thought he was a very mature filmmaker who obviously had he was very attentive with regard to race relations and things like that. And this is a film that in the hands of another filmmaker probably wouldn't have that subtext in it necessarily, which I think is very much there in the text. But Carl Franklin does a really good job of making that nuanced and not obvious, or there's a subtlety to the way that he depicts that on screen that I think is really good here. And you know who wrote this script, Ryan, or co-wrote the script?
I know he's in the movie too.
Billy
Billy
Bob. Billy Bob Thornton, who of course was in the early 90s like a big time screenwriter.
That's Oscar winner Billy Bob Thornton.
Oscar winner Billy Bob Thornton.
Yep.
And
do you know what he won his Oscar for?
It was for fried taters. French fried taters.
I did this just so that he could do this for you folks. Yes, it was for Sling Blade.
Sling Blade.
There you go. There you go, man. Oh my
so
God.
It's I mean, he's not too far away from that in this movie, but
no, he's not. He's in his you never seen Tombstone.
No, I have not.
But he's in his Tombstone sort of chubby Billy Bob Thornton era right now. In the 90s.
And he's owning his look in this big time.
You got to watch Tombstone, Jay.
I know, I do.
Just to see the Billy Bob Thornton, Kurt Russell scenes. They are incredible stuff. Like
there are some movies where I'm just like, Ryan would like it too much. If I finally saw this movie, I might just keep frustrating him.
So. I know, but then I know you're going to watch it and you're going to love it. So it's like, that's the frustrating part.
I know that movie. It does seem.
I'm more frustrated, not that you're not seeing it. It's that you're depriving yourself of the enjoyment of a good movie. Have.
No, yeah, I know. I need to check it out. There's so much stuff I got to see.
I think Allie would like it too.
She doesn't like Westerns.
No, that's like the everybody loves
extreme bias against Westerns.
Everybody loves that movie because it's like it's. I mean, it's got Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton in it. Sam Elliott. Kurt Russell, Kilmer, who's incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a stacked cast.
He's my Huckleberry. I know that's a thing in the movie.
That is, oh yeah. When you find out what that means, oh yeah, you're gonna be saying it all the time on this show. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, he co-writes the script here, and he's kind of this script doctor or a script guy at the time. I mean, like it kind of
basically how he became a movie star is because he wrote stuff. And I mean, this is obviously before Sling Blade, but it was like, if you want to get in a movie, write a movie for yourself and maybe they'll let you act in it. And so he did.
It feels very in the vein of, of obviously he worked with them later on, but like the Coens and how they sort of started out too, is like write these specific genre noir films. And he's done that for primarily his career in writing these really uniquely interesting slice of life films. Like, he's got this, he's got Sling Blade. There's something.
Did not realize he wrote The Gift.
The Gift is
a bad film.
Is that Sam Raimi's worst movie?
That's tough. I'm going to need to look at that real quick.
For Love of the Game? Oz?
Oh, Oz. Oh my God. It's probably Oz. Good Lord.
You know what Universal thought? They were like, man, Disney tried it with Oz. Let's go and do 2 Wicked movies instead and double down on a universe nobody gives a shit about.
Wicked is going to make so much money.
Do you think so?
Yes.
But will it be a good movie?
No.
Okay, thank you.
It looks awful.
It does. It looks really bad. What do you think Ariana Grande is like? Have you seen Wicked?
I've seen the musical Wicked.
What do you think of that?
I understand why people like it so much.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was bad. I thought
I
it
don't
was
like
okay.
this.
Gravity is a banger.
You mean Defying Gravity?
Yeah, whatever.
Well, Gravity too.
The Alfonso Cuarón
film.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think it peaks in the first act. I think the first act's the best part, and then they start retconning the Wizard of Oz, and I don't like it.
Honestly, I remember so little about the actual plot mechanics of
Do
that
you want me to read that off
musical.
to you later?
Yeah, let's do that on mic.
No, we're not doing
People
that
would
on my.
love that.
We're talking about one
Let's
false
talk
move.
about this good movie.
Let's talk about this good movie and stop fucking around. We're acting like we hate this movie. Jay, your thoughts on One False Move?
Yeah, it's really good. I'm so glad I finally watched this movie. It is lean and mean and nasty and has one of the great final shots I've seen in a movie in a long time. And it is really not afraid to kind of go there, which I know is kind of the reaction at the time was this thing is too much. And you can kind of understand that. It is violent, it is mean. Bill Paxton is just casually throwing out slurs, even though it's daring you to like the Bill Paxton character. And we got to talk Paxton because he's the best. You talk about a guy who just committed to everything that he did. He was such a Swiss Army knife for every director he worked for, and I think a lot of really talented directors wanted him on their roster, and I think he's awesome here. I think pretty much everybody is really good in this film. I think it looks great, and it really, for a movie that costs $2.5 million, boy, does this thing look fantastic. I mean, it feels like a fully realized vision of a movie. And it goes completely across the country. We're going from LA to Arkansas, and it not only gets into racial biases, but also even regional biases. This idea that these people in Texas and Arkansas are worthless compared to the big timers in LA. And I think that's portrayed with great sensitivity while not entirely condemning the LA detectives either. I just think this is a complicated movie in a lot of ways, and a movie that doesn't offer any easy answers, and one full of potent imagery that is sharply written, gorgeous to look at, incredibly acted, and it's a real winner. I like this a lot more than I thought I would, and I knew I would like it. It's a really good, I almost called it a debut film. It's a really good calling card movie for him, kind of getting his foot in, leveling up, I think, is really what this movie did for him.
Honestly, Jay, and I know that we talked about those films before, and it's not to discredit those, but this feels like it is like a debut film. It is the film
Exactly, exactly. It's like how, Chris Nolan following. Nobody really recognizes that as the beginning of Chris
no,
Nolan.
everyone
That was
thinks
just
that
him
that's
making a
Memento.
movie.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Exactly. Oh, for sure. Um, and like Following's like his worst movie. But
It's barely a movie.
it's barely a movie. It's an idea. It's a concept.
It's an excuse to make a movie.
It's a trial and then error, and then you figure it out, and then the really interesting thing is made 2 years or 3 years later, whatever.
Mhm.
No, and so I do kind of see it as that because, but also that's the other thing too is that if you see it as a debut, then it's like, well, this is a very confident, focused debut. So it then demeans all the hard work that he did on those, like, 6 or whatever movies that he
Sure,
did.
sure. But
So
he also might have been capable of this from the beginning, but just not asked to do it.
exactly, you never know what's inside of you until you're asked to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he's given the script by Epperson and Billy Bob Thornton and Tom Epperson and Billy Bob Thornton, and it is. I mean, this is the era. The '90s are the era of the noir, you know, country police detective. Let's look into their lives. Let's look into the lives of the people on the run. I mean, obviously, like I said, Blood Simple is very much in this world.
Oh
This is
yeah,
when the
big time.
Coen brothers are existing. When I was watching this movie, I was thinking again about, what was recently announced in Criterion, the No Country for Old Men, and how that movie is really built off the back of the work that they've been doing for 20 something plus years. And so you can feel as if, like, we talk about this sometimes, Jay, with these very important directors that make then movies that we got to see 100 different versions of it, right? Like it's the Tarantino effect, where for a long time people were trying to make Tarantino movies and still are trying to do Tarantino movies, and they don't do them because there's a specificity to the style in which he makes his movies that is wholly unique, even if he is copying a lot from the past. He's making it his own, and that's what makes him special. And so a lot of people are trying to do this. They're trying to do the sort of their Coen brothers, but Franklin does it through, I think, through the script as well as also through his direction. It's very bloody and it's very brutal. It's very honest, and it's not. There's no sugarcoating in this movie. There is a lot of
No.
just truth being put out there, and I think that speaks to the truth and also the ugly truth about our protagonist, who is Bill Paxton in this movie, and his Hurricane Dixon. We're supposed to, by all accounts, root for this guy. But as the movie goes on, we know that the parties are going to meet and closer it becomes, things are revealed, um, and you see the facade break. And then it's about, is he no different than the people he's chasing after? And also you're right. He's very loose because he's a small town guy, right? And he's very limited in the worldview and what he thinks his role is in this whole investigation, his whole role within the robbers, his role within just being a collaborator with these two guys that come out of LA, these two detectives. And it's really interesting. I think the racial dichotomy, the class dichotomy in this movie is really fascinating. I think it is one where also it was an hour 45. It flew by for me. I think that gives so much credit to obviously the screenplay, but the direction of this movie. It was giving me the feelings of Fargo before Fargo, of the feelings of, because this is obviously out earlier in the decade before a movie like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and I'm not saying this, this is the equation that I kind of thought of in my head. Blood Simple comes out, and you see other directors and other writers and people try to mimic that. And then another movie comes out that's sort of similar, that builds off of that and creates their own world and is very confident. And then the Coens sit back and then they create something like Fargo. And it reminded me a lot of like when the Beatles were in their heyday and they were making their great music, and Brian Wilson was making Beach Boys music and the
Mm-hmm.
whole Pet Sounds to Revolver sort of era, right? And how they're a call and response to one another weirdly, without actually compromising each other's vision or being, this rivalry. It's just like this era of movie that has dissipated and disappeared. And they all kind of felt like through this independent movement that they were doing this. I mean, this is a very celebrated independent film of its year of 1992 and 92. Yeah, 92. And I loved it, Jay. I thought that this was an
Yeah,
incredible film to start off the series.
it is. It really is kind of a bolt of lightning movie where I imagine if you saw this, which not a lot of people did, so it's not an immediate box office success, although it has certainly gained an audience since it was released. But I just imagine seeing this and really being like, "Whoa, this is kind of crazy." This is that independent film moment where you're like, yeah, Reservoir Dogs came out, never seen anything like that. This is kind of in that same vein where it's like we're letting people make movies that we used to not let people make in the 80s.
No.
It really does feel like the introduction of a new voice in filmmaking. And yes, it does have some echoes of something like Blood Simple. And yes, you could argue that the legacy of Fargo kind of overshadows this film historically,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it needs to be in the conversation with that movie. It is,
Yeah.
to your point, if you kind of want to not give this film the credit that it deserves, like I don't think this is fair to the film, but I will say it's sort of like Blood Simple was so nitty gritty, low budget, And then Fargo, I think, is so incredibly artful. This is sort of like that
Middle ground. Yeah.
sort of the transition from one
And
to
it's
the next.
literally right in between the timeline of both of those movies' existence. Because like Fargo is like what, 96,
I think Blood
97,
Simple was 86
and
and Fargo
84.
was 96,
Yeah,
84 and
84.
96.
Yeah, 84 and
Yeah, so
96. So
it's
just right
somewhere
in the
in
middle.
there.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And it definitely has a lot of the spirit that those films do. I would say its spirit is probably closer to Blood Simple than Fargo in some ways. I think Fargo
Mhm.
is very comedic, and this is nasty,
No,
kind of
this
like
is
Blood Simple
nasty.
was.
No, for
Yeah.
sure. But there is a violent element. I know that that's more comedic, but there is that
Small
violent.
town
Yeah.
idiots.
Yeah. And I feel like
But what's interesting about this is it takes small town idiots and juxtaposes them with Hollywood folks, LA
Mhm.
people, and says, like, these people aren't smart either. They're all
No,
idiots. They're
they're
just
all
idiots in
idiots.
different ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that
And
about it. It's
they're
not
different.
judgmental, which I don't think Fargo is either, but not
No,
judgmental at all.
I don't think it's judgmental, but I think it is saying too that there's just as much
It is judgmental,
feed.
actually. I take
It
that
is a
back.
judgmental film. I don't
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah,
don't.
that was just straight up wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I was about to say, like, this is a movie looking at the small town cop, which is usually in this case in most of these movies, which, I mean, to be fair, is like what the buddy cop was, like the fish out of water sort of situations of the 80s, where you have these guys and then and they either go to the big cop or the big town or whatever, and they have to work alongside the begrudging cop. And these cops here, they're no saints. They're wanting to get an easy win off the back of what
While
Paxton's doing here.
judging all of these people that he's working with, trying to take
Exactly.
advantage of people. And when I said not judgmental, what I should have said was it doesn't paint its characters black and white. It doesn't hate any of its
No,
characters.
because there's
Even
they're
Hurricane
morally
Dixon,
gray characters.
right? He has
Yeah.
these kind of very irredeemable qualities, but there's something about his go getitiveness and his gumption and stuff that makes him likable in certain ways. And it's Bill Paxton, which he's pretty much always likable.
I mean, he's
But
like that until probably the last 30 minutes of this movie, or last 20 minutes of
right,
this movie, which
yeah,
is when the
exactly.
reveal happens.
Yes,
And
and then it's
that's
like he's
when
responsible for death and destruction and
yeah, and
all
he's
that
no
stuff.
different than it's also about consequences, and it's
Mhm.
about action, and it's about I think also it's no different than, and maybe this will help on rewatches as well too, is looking at him through the lens of knowing that he is semi involved in this chase, and his eagerness to be an LA detective is a facade in many ways, in my opinion, Jay. When I was sort of breaking it down in my head, I was like, of someone that wants to break this case and help him as much as possible and be a part of it because he knows that he's involved with someone that is potentially, and then when it is confirmed that he is part of this manhunt that
Yeah,
is going on.
he
And
views
then
himself as
that,
like a TV character. He would just wants to get to the next episode.
yeah, he just wants to he wants to get to the next episode, but he wants to know what's going on and he doesn't want to be shunned out. And then by the end, he has to deal with the situation of it's not just their actions he has to worry about, but then it's his actions and what he's done outside of his
Mhm.
marriage. And, and I think that is the added layer to this, because if it is just a regular, I know these guys from the small towns. I watched them grow up and hit T-ball and all that stuff. Right? Like I've known these drugs have been going in and out, or I've known that these murders have been happening. The sort of simpleness that happens in movies like this all the time. Like I was thinking a little bit too about, if you want to mention Nolan, like a plot like Insomnia, where like Pacino comes out from Los Angeles because he's under investigation and goes to this small Alaskan town, asked to do a favor, and then it becomes
What does he
even worse
sound
than
like when
that.
he asks?
Oh, it's too much. I need to sleep.
Oh,
What is it?
he's having so much trouble sleeping.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
can't
it's so
sleep.
bright,
I,
so
I,
bright.
I need a sleeping pill. It's too bright outside. It's too much.
You got a good Al, man.
I
It's a good
try.
Al.
I try, because that's how he sounds. He sounds really despair. He sounds really tired.
That's old Pacino.
Yeah.
You got like a Michael in there,
Oh,
like a baby Pacino.
oh, like a little like this.
He doesn't
Like
have
no,
that.
it's not.
That's, I
Yeah,
mean, that's not bad.
it's not
He doesn't
bad.
have the gravel in his throat.
Yeah. I did when we did the 74 episode. I did do the thing from Godfather 2.
You did
Where my
the
kids sleep.
you pulled a Borat.
Yeah. Yes, I did. I did. Where my kids play with their Christmas toys. You know what I mean? It's like it's real quick. The way he does like certain act, you can tell in that movie. When I was watching that movie specifically, Godfather 2. It's so crazy. Like that's the last time that and maybe like Serpico is like where he's dancing, he's trying to get over there. He's gonna get over to Foghorn Leghorn soon enough. And then by like Injustice for All, he's straight up like, you know,
I still think he's doing a lot of really subtle stuff in Dog Day, but he's definitely going big. No, he is, but he's also going really big.
I mean, like he's also like, ah that guy, ah that guy. He's like yelling the whole
No,
time, you know
but
what I mean? And
then when
everything.
he's,
But then
talking
he's inside.
to
You want
characters
coffee?
inside rooms,
Yeah.
yeah,
You want a
he's
little
doing
coffee?
amazing stuff.
You want some pizza?
That
We need
movie
some food in here.
is so good. Let's cover him.
You want to cover Lumet and the 95 films that City of the Met has?
Let's do it every episode. Let's do a year of Lumet.
I mean, he's got like 45 movies every single year he came out with. It's insane. But anyway, back to One False Move. Do you want to talk about the trio that we're following here also too? Because I think that their storyline is a bit interesting and sort of the directorial setup. I think of the opening scene, Jay, is really fascinating in how it kind of it's an act of violence that kind of happens almost like out of nowhere, or it just kind of happens so quickly. And those reactionary times too are of going back into more like protective animalistic instincts, I thought. And Billy Bob Thornton is just like straight up like, I'll kill anyone as long as I don't get caught.
Well, first of all, let me say he is really given some Samuel L. Jackson in Jackie Brown energy in this movie. That's kind of his look. And he's really pulling it off. He looks greasy. He looks so greasy. Give that man a shower. But yeah, he is a total wild card. Like he will do anything that it takes. And even beyond anything that it takes, he will act irrationally and overreact to situations and create even more problems for himself and for the people with him. I'll tell you who I think is just a really steady presence in this movie is Michael Beach. He is cool, calm, and collected, smartest guy in the room. I don't have a ton of experience with Michael Beach. If I'm being honest, what I remember him from most is Aquaman.
Hell yeah.
He plays Black Manta's dad in Aquaman. But he's so good in this movie, and he just what are his big roles? I honestly don't even.
Well, he's
know.
in a movie.
He's in True Romance.
He's in True Romance. He's in Shortcuts.
Oh, of course he's in Shortcuts. He's in that. I love that movie.
He's in Lean on Me. He's in. I didn't see Saw X or Saw 10, I guess, or whatever, but he's in that too. He also. This isn't the first time.
He's
he
like
also,
hardly in Shortcuts though, right?
Later on, he does work again with Richard Pierce on a film called A Family Thing, which is also written by Billy Bob Thornton and Tom Epperson as well too. And that stars James Earl Jones and Robert Duvall. So he's a veteran actor. He's worked for.
No, he's been working.
He's been working. He's in many things. You know what I mean? He was also on ER for 2 years. He was, a regular cast member on multiple television shows.
X?
No, I didn't. I just literally said I didn't see it. So, you're not paying
there you
attention.
Go. Sorry, I was looking at all of his movies.
You're just not listening to me anymore.
He's in the Chris Stuckman movie.
He is?
He is in
I'm not going to ask your opinion on that because I feel like you're going to say something mean or something to
I don't know. What if it's good? That's what I'll say. What if
it is good? I mean, some people didn't. I think it premiered up in Toronto or Canada.
Have you seen Saw X?
I hate you so much sometimes. God damn it. No, but he's really good. And I think what is it, Cynda Williams in this movie too? I think she's really I've really like we see a lot of this things that you normally see in a movie like this through their interactions, but there's something about the way that they are I think the way that Franklin builds tension in their scenes are fantastic, mixed with these wonderful performances. And his use of silence, like in when they have to go to the drug dealer's house, or they have to go, or they're inside the convenience store. I think that those are impeccably put together sequences by
Oh
Franklin
yeah, very
in those,
claustrophobic.
very
Yeah.
much so. Like you feel the tension of these characters,
This
and
thing is a pressure cooker.
yeah, I mean, like this is like just bubbling up
Emotionally
to the
and
surface.
physically and everything. It's like you always feel like something is about to explode, even if it is, your your heart, not your literal heart, but your, figurative heart.
Yeah, I mean, because like as I mean, they're making a lot of moves, and it's and like they're coming their way, right?
How
Because they're
many how many false ones?
one false move.
All it takes
To
is
be fair,
one.
yeah, all it takes is one.
Although
As
there
this
are a
movie,
lot of false moves in
well,
this
no,
one.
because like, and usually like a movie like this trio would start.
Cynda Williams was married to Billy Bob Thornton.
There
I
you go.
did not know
Well,
that.
she's one of six. He's been married six times. That
They
dude.
were married from 1990 to 1992.
Oh, so right as the time that this movie came out, they divorced.
And then, yeah, this was probably a hard one to go home after work and be like, I love you, babe.
Well, does it no? And I mean, obviously, we're spoiling, and we can talk about it. She shoots him in the face, or no, he
Well,
shoots her in the face.
yeah,
Right?
and
What a brutal death,
yeah,
by the way, in the
that's
shootout.
a tough one.
I gotta tell you,
And
one of the most brutal shootouts I think I've seen in quite some time.
Billy Bob kind of a method guy, right?
Like
Isn't that kind
like
of his reputation? While he's making a movie, he gets super into it.
he just seems like a really rough guy,
Yeah. I imagine kind of getting a little too much into character
like
with
a
your real life
tough of
wife
leather.
with
Yeah,
this movie. Maybe maybe that might be grounds for divorce in and of itself. But
yeah, I
I don't
feel
know.
like
Cynda Williams, like her
her performance
filmography
here.
is bleak.
Yeah,
This is it. This is really it. I mean, there are movies that were made for some money, but Mo Better Blues and One False Move. How about that for the start of a career?
I
And
mean,
then
she's good in that movie, by the way.
Wasteland. Yes, she's very good. Wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
That's so crazy to me. I literally have heard of maybe two of these movies.
She's in a lot of TV movies. She's in a lot of, sort of just direct to video stuff.
But there are her last like 15 movies don't even have a Wikipedia page.
Like, yeah,
That hurts.
I mean, I don't, yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking at some of these. I'm just looking at them.
Never remarried, only married
Never-
to Billy Bob.
I mean, once you have Billy Bob, you know, it's why would you want to be with anybody else? No, I don't know how their marriage ended.
I could think
I
of a couple reasons why you'd want to be with somebody else.
But no, I mean, like this is the other problem, right? That you have with people too, is like they either make bad decisions or they end up going down this weird rabbit hole into filmographies, and these actresses that are these presence in the 80s and 90s, they become ghosts. Like she becomes a ghost after this thing, and
Mhm.
she's celebrated for this performance because it's an incredible performance in this movie.
It is.
In that third act when she's opposite Paxton. She is giving it to him in
When she
those
really
scenes.
becomes strong and active. She's been so passive and letting things
She's
happen to
been
her.
quiet
and
and
she
letting
starts to
these two
push back.
idiots take over, and she has been. But then you see, her, Fantasia is her character. You see her sort of open up, and you really see who she really is. She's not this just pawn that they can kind of like sit in the middle of the front seats. Like she's actually got a mind, and when her and Dale, when you realize that they've been together, and that's the big reveal, is that they had a past relationship
While she was in high school.
while she was in high school, which is like yikes. And then you realize that they have a child together. And I think the final third act of this movie, Jay, is a tightrope of just really tense, racially very interesting conversations like also too between two different generations as well at the same time. Obviously, him being a family man and not wanting to go on. I mean, the conversation about the child that they have and the sense of ownership of the mistakes and him continuously from wanting to take this case to the work that seems so strange. He seems so probably out of pocket the way he's talking to these LA cops or how he's acting or how he's behaving. And we all assume it's to get a job. And there's that devastating scene in the diner when he overhears, like, basically like how he sounds like he's from Green Acres or whatever. And he sounds like, like, and they laugh him off. Right. And you're like, oh, I feel bad for him. Then you realize it's to cover his ass because he's been cheating for years and he doesn't want any of this to get out as they're heading their way. And it becomes from your white knight to a very morally gray, selfish person. And yeah, I mean, when she's just like, let's just have a piece of cake to celebrate our child's birthday. And he's like, that's not my child. And she's like, well, let's just have the cake anyway. I was devastated because it's just sitting there and you're just like, it's this man's refusal to accept his mistakes. And that's what makes Paxton's performance so great. But then also there's just like the quietness between the two of them that sort of builds up in their arguments. Williams is fantastic as well there too.
No, they're all good. What's your favorite Paxton?
No thoughts on the ending? Are we just going right into Paxton?
No, we'll go to the. I mean, if we want to talk about the final,
we can talk about it in a minute.
The movie.
Well, one, I miss Paxton.
He's the best. The other movie this reminded me of, for obvious reasons, because 2/3 of the main cast in the film are actors in this film. A Simple Plan. You've seen A Simple Plan, right?
Now talk about a good Raimi.
That movie rules. There's an argument that that is his best movie.
Evil Dead 2 exists, but yes, I would agree.
I think it's one of those two. I think I agree with you. But A Simple Plan rocks the freaking house.
Where are you at with Raimi? Like, would Raimi be a good series to do? There's too much genre. Or is it too, like, we've seen all those, people have talked about that. That's enough.
No, I feel like people haven't really broken him down all that much. But I don't know that I don't know that I don't know that I want to cover 3 Spider-Man movies
and 3 Evil Dead movies.
Like maybe one day, wink, wink, we'll get to somebody who really got involved with a franchise. But
who? Zack Snyder?
We're doing a Snyder series, folks.
Snyder.
We're doing a Snyder series. Yeah. Get excited.
Get your wheat bales out for the Rebel Moon episode. Is he really making more of those, by the way?
I didn't even know that was a rumor. Is that a rumor?
Because they got the 2, right? And it wasn't like a trilogy.
He's doing another zombie movie, right?
I don't know. That guy seems like he's got a lot of time on his hands to make a lot of stupid shit. Maybe he's
not. I don't know.
What's the best Snyder?
Oh God, it's probably still Dawn of the Dead.
Is it? Okay.
I think. What else could it be?
I like Watchmen.
I do not like Watchmen.
No?
I think it looks good.
It's hard to adapt that thing.
That is made by a man who does not understand
comic books.
The text.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I thought it was all right.
Which is a problem.
Like, I begrudgingly said that. I'm not like beholden to that.
Here's a fun fact about Watchmen.
Here we go.
When I was in high school, we were on a baseball tournament, like a summer baseball tournament.
I didn't know you played baseball.
Oh, big baseball guy, pitcher.
God damn it. I was going to try to guess your position.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say third base.
No, pitcher.
Oh, okay. How fast
pitcher.
Could you throw?
Mean two seam. I could throw mid-80s.
Mid-80s? Can you still do it?
Surely not.
How fast do you think you could throw that speedball right now? Maybe 60?
I think I could probably. 70? No. I was going to say mid upper 70s. I bet.
Mid upper 70s? Well, that's not bad.
Yeah. No, okay. I mean, I threw pretty hard. I did a pretty mean 2-seamer, good curveball.
Were you good at did you just play in high school and that was it, or?
Yeah, just in high school. I tore my rotator cuff in high school too.
I was going to say, was it a rotator cuff situation that kind of cut you out?
Not like I think I was good enough to play in college, but that was That was cut short. I tore my rotator cuff, and I was seriously like,
Not doing that again.
I don't want to do that again.
So you're like me. I mean, like I could have keep playing football, and I tore my ACL, and I was just like, yeah, I think I'm good. I want to walk. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like
I was like, I want to play catch with my son one day and not have my shoulder hurt.
I think, yeah. I mean, like you got to know when to walk away. You can't
Yeah.
be like Tua Tagovailoa and just keep getting hit in the
You know, I
head.
was. I do think about it all the time. I'd probably still be in the bigs if I decided to go back.
You think so?
But then this podcast wouldn't exist.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't be talking about one false move. Anyway, back to Paxton.
Is there an athlete who has a movie podcast? That'd be interesting.
I think okay. You wanted me to get on this soapbox?
You think we could get Travis Kelce on here?
Yeah, we'll share a bracelet with them. That's usually how it works, right?
That sounds fun.
I think that athletes having podcasts are actually, as they are currently playing,
they're allowed to have
bad
podcast.
Idea.
Who
bad
cares?
Idea. Most of because they're not focused. They're focused on their brand more than they're focused on.
Well, yeah.
Most of the guys,
I would say they're largely lazy.
Outside of Travis Kelce, name me someone that's doing a podcast currently, because LeBron stopped doing the podcast and their team was not good. Draymond was not good.
Oh, so you're saying it's detrimental to their performance?
Bingo. Because Micah Parsons for the Cowboys, he has his, and I think his play has dipped since he's been more focused on his brand and podcasting than actually his job that he gets paid millions of dollars for.
Interesting.
Anyway. But Kelce, he has his brother, and that's what able to, you know, his brother's now retired too. Like they're the anomaly because they figured it out, you know? And also he doesn't play a position that is dependent 110%. Like he's not Mahomes. If Mahomes was doing a podcast, we'd have a problem. Anyway, that's
what about Pat McAfee though?
Oh, he's retired, so he can do whatever the hell he wants. Even though
I don't like him.
I don't like him either. I don't like.
Cam Newton has a podcast.
Yeah, and it's something. It's like Gilbert Arenas having a podcast.
Absolutely unhinged
stuff.
Love that man to death.
Gilbert's is worse.
Gilbert's is bad. I feel like he's gonna accidentally commit a felony on that podcast. Like the cops are gonna bust into the studio.
And he's gonna sit him on the couch. And he's gonna be like, "So what am I arrested for today?"
He's gonna bust out a gun again.
Also, what'd you think of Vince Carter's stats from 2004? Yeah. I could have beat him easily in one-on-one.
Anyway, I don't know. Maybe we'll get him on the pod.
Well, yeah, you know, we don't want.
What do you think Gilbert Arenas would want to talk about?
I don't even want to know.
Before sunset?
Club and basketball?
He's probably a before midnight guy.
He probably could have said, like, I could have been Ray Allen and he got game and got really angry about it.
That would actually be a really interesting podcast movie to review with a basketball player.
Right? And then because not only
don't the Celtics guys hate Ray Allen? Like Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce?
They still have not gotten over that, right?
I don't think they fully have, no.
Man,
but that was a thing, right? I'm not misremembering that.
I'm sorry, but get over it. There's some things that who
gave a better performance, Kevin Garnett in Uncut Gems or Ray Allen in He Got Game?
You want my controversial take?
Are you gonna say Ray Allen?
No, I was gonna say KG.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's a controversial take at all. Oh, okay. Ray Allen's not that good in He Got Game.
I mean, he's good for what he is. Denzel helps him out a lot.
Can't grade him on a curve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can. He's
Kevin Garnett
high
is
school
straight up good.
I mean, that's how most of those grades probably in high school were for Jesus Shuttleworth, graded on a curve.
That's true.
You know, I bet he had to be really careful. Couldn't make any false moves.
Good scholarship. He Got Game. That's one that I think gets better and better.
Yeah, I don't really like the Mila Djokovic stuff in it, but other than that, it's
no, really agreed. One of my favorite
because what is the thing that Spike Lee can't do? Write good female characters.
Women.
Yeah.
Well, one actress in this film was in his movie.
Yeah, and I mean, she's good and
she's pretty good in
she's pretty. That is an underrated Spike Lee movie, to be fair. Paxton, you asked me about William Paxton.
Favorite Paxton performance? Go.
Well, I mean, he's great in Tombstone, but he's not like.
I think I got a controversial one.
um, he's kind of. I mean, he's. Let's be clear. He's great in everything. Okay,
Is that
but
true? Might be true.
it might be true. Like, there's never a time when you watched a movie with Bill Paxton and said you had a bad time. So don't even start. I think he's great
I mean,
in.
he was in Pick. Oh no,
Yeah, he's in Pixels.
he's got
You're
some. He's.
correct.
I mean, he's got no. He's not. I misread it. It's Pixies, not
Pixies.
Pixels.
Oh, okay.
That is a Canadian
I
animated
think he's
fantasy film.
I think he's great in Apollo 13. I think he's wonderful in
He's great in that.
Twisters. Those are like his staples. I think he's
Twister, Ryan. He was not
Twister. Sorry, no,
alive when
that's right.
Twisters
Nah,
came
that's
out.
right. That's fair. I think he's great in like Edge of Tomorrow, where he just shows up and he's just like
Whether there's just an it's just an aliens homage.
yeah. And that's
No,
really
he's good in
great.
that. You know what my favorite is?
I have a real controversial one, I guess, but I'll let you go first.
Well, you do yours. You were in the middle of your thing.
Well, I don't want to step on your toes.
No, I'm stepping on your toes.
Well,
Your toes are free. I'm
I think
unstepping on
one
your
of his
toes.
best performances is in a movie called Club Dread, where he plays
Haven't seen it.
where he plays Coconut Pete, and
I
it is
mean, what a good
basically
name.
I don't the concept of the character is essentially what if somebody was what Jimmy Buffett was, but didn't get the fame that Jimmy Buffett had, and it's like it's there's a great scene where he's
Is
talking
that
about
from
this. It's from the Broken
the
Lizard.
Broken Lizard guys? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's one
yeah,
of their
yeah.
early
I haven't
films
seen
before
it.
they got really bad, but like he is committed as hell to that bit. Like there's a girl that just walks up to him. She's just like, "Oh, your music's great. It's kind of like Jimmy Buffett." And he just freaks out on her and he's like, "Margaritaville came out 5 years after my album. 5 years." And it's like it's so good.
I mean, that's good stuff.
Yeah, he just knew how to commit. He did comedies, obviously he did dramas, but like yeah, stuff like that where it's just off the beaten path. You wouldn't really think about it. Obviously, everyone would probably put up there with Titanic, but I'll take Coconut Pete any day of the week.
My favorite, I think, and it's not the biggest role,
Okay.
but I guess it's kind of similar to Club Dread a little bit. I love him so much in True Lies. I
Oh,
think
he's
he
so
is
good in that.
so funny in that movie. He
He's
is
so slimy
so
in that
good.
movie. It's
He
almost like
is vile.
it's like a antithesis to this character.
And then after being the most arrogant, pompous, disgusting character, all of a sudden Arnold gives him like one threat, one punch, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, man."
Yeah,
Oh.
man. Yeah, and it's funny, like he does that, and then he does like Titanic, where he's just like this.
He's a James Cameron
He's playing
staple.
James Cameron in that movie, essentially, right? Like he's
Yeah,
basically Big Jim in that movie.
because he was in
Um,
Aliens.
oh, he's great in Aliens. He's great in U five
Were
seven
those
one.
were those only were those the only three? Was he in another Cameron?
I can look it up.
Aliens, True Lies, and Titanic. I don't think he was in another one.
I don't think he was in another one. He
He
wasn't
was
in
the
it.
narrator of Ghosts of the Abyss, so
He
maybe
wasn't.
that counts.
He wasn't in Avatar. Why wasn't he in Avatar?
I don't know. Maybe they had a falling out.
I don't think so.
Oh, he was in
all-
Terminator. Of course, he was in Terminator.
What is he in Terminator?
He plays like one of the punk guys at the beginning.
Oh
of the
yeah,
movie.
he's like a punk leader in the back, right?
Yeah. He's the guy. Give me your clothes, or
Wait,
whatever he says.
Wait, do that one more time.
Give me your clothes.
Yeah. Good job. Yeah,
Whatever he
no,
says.
he's really good. I never saw Big Love, the TV show that he was
No,
on.
me neither. It's a TV show, which is usually a good indication that I haven't watched it.
Very anti-TV.
No, I mean I like a lot of TV, but we don't need to litigate this. Let's talk about the last scene of One False Move, which is incredible and devastating. And
Can I say one thing about
yeah, I'll allow it.
Paxton in this movie before we get to the ending?
Yeah.
I think this is like a greater point. To actually a point that you and I have talked about many times before, but I have to bring this up, which is the fact that when I was watching this movie, I got why they cast Glenn Powell in Twisters. because if there were
Okay, that's
with
interesting.
his hair, the way his hair was, and the small town vibes to it, I was like, if they remade One False Move, I mean, he could literally just follow Paxton's career and play a character like this. Like I was just watching, and I saw that, like when they first see him at the diner and in town, and he's got that big smile, right? That big, just 100-foot smile on him,
There
and
is a
it's such a charm
magnetic
offense.
pull to
Yeah,
Paxton. He not
and
he not quite the cutie that Glenn Powell is
no,
though.
he's not the movie star that Pal is, because but like what I'm saying is, it's like this was like watching. Have you ever seen God, what's the movie called?
Marley and Me
No, it's with Chris Cooper, and it's about the mining town.
adaptation,
Have you ever seen that
Little
movie?
Women.
No, 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 no. Anyway, I'll look at I'll
Okay,
look at
hold on. Which movie? Chris
it's
Cooper about
Chris
what?
Cooper it's a mining town.
Oh, October Sky.
No, 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 no. It's a
Oh,
smaller movie than that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess
no.
he's got multiple ones, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll look it up here in a second. Anyway, it's about like we don't make movies like
That would
this
be a
movie
weird way to describe October Sky. It's about
the
Chris
mining
Cooper in
town.
a mining town, not
Not Jake Gyllenhaal
high
and the
schoolers
Rockets.
making rockets. Yeah.
um, Matwan is, I think, what it's called. Matwan. I
I
don't
haven't
know.
seen it if that's what
Haven't
it's
seen
called.
I'm trying to look. I'll look it up. Anyway, um, where like movies like this used to get made, and it got made with a veteran actor. It got made with somebody that wasn't had to have the movie star looks and everything. It was built off the back of a script. It was built off the back of a confident director. These handshake deals. It wasn't like going to break the bank if this movie didn't make all of its money back, but you know, it made a decent chunk of change for what it made nothing.
No.
Yeah, it lost money,
let's
but
not beat around the bush. It
but
made
also
nothing.
like but also like they're not expecting it to make a bunch of money. Like if it's a surprise, it's a surprise. You know what I mean?
And in looking backwards, I don't care. It's a good movie.
No, but like I was just thinking about like now to make a movie like this, you have to have probably a star to get into the
Well,
frame.
and a star now is it isn't a Bill Paxton type. This is when actors were allowed to look unique. And this is kind of the end of that era a little bit, but
Yes.
it's interesting.
Yeah. So
It's a great film.
Yeah.
Last scene, absolutely devastating. Truly one of the most impactful final scenes that I've seen, I guess, for the first time in a long time.
I sent you the film for Chris Cooper
What?
in the chat. Sorry, folks.
Oh.
As we're talking.
Oh, this is some inside baseball here.
Yeah,
Matwan,
Yeah,
1987. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
In the Criterion Collection.
Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know it's good.
It's
I
John
get it.
Sayles.
Oh, that would actually be a fun one to do for the pod.
Yeah. Sayles?
Yeah.
Yeah, with like Lone Star and Eight Men Out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That'd be a fun one.
some good stuff.
But final scene in the film. I
Yeah,
guess we'll
sorry.
kind of wrap up with that scene. Absolutely devastating. Just this whole idea of the one thing that he wanted to be kept secret being seemingly, and we don't get a definitive answer on it, but in my opinion, I would say seemingly the last thing he sees before he dies. And also him not for the first time ever, not rejecting that idea, but embracing that sense of responsibility and that sense of fatherhood. But the most devastating part is this kid's probably about to have no parents, and nobody's going to know that he's the father. And so you just think about what this child's next steps are, and you could go into some dark territory. And it's all because, in the words of Marge Gunderson, a little bit of money.
A little bit
To
of
go
money.
back to Fargo.
But it also goes back to one false move and the dominoes start to fall. And
What is the biggest false move of them all?
Yeah. I mean, like, is the false move, Jay,
Good title.
the beginning of this entire chase, or is it the little things that he's done along the way to
Mhm.
cause the damage within this investigation? Is it the act of having the child itself? Is that what is then, because they both live essentially very dangerous lives. Like his mother is involved with a lot of, shady, characters, and he's a cop, and a cop is a dangerous job. And it all kind of
But then there's also
collides.
little things where it's like, is it her brother who brings him over, or is it her
Hmm.
cousin? It's her brother.
It's like brother, cousin. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Who brings her over, who brings the son over to see her, and then that's basically how they get tracked down. It's just a bunch of little things that, you could point to one thing as maybe the straw that broke the camel's back. But the potentially one greatest false move is probably Hurricane's relationship with her while she was in high school.
Yeah.
And that sets him up, or at least his
Temptation,
son
right?
up, for a life of um, waywardness, probably. And also, it sets her up on this path of not really having an identity and not understanding what to do with herself. She is just stuck in the situation of knowing this one thing about herself and having this child who is in some ways a piece of memorabilia from a bad memory, like a souvenir from a bad memory.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's her child and she loves him very, very much, but she's also gotten herself into a really bad situation because of maybe some impulsive decisions she made in the wake of this event, and on and on and on. The domino effects of so many of these things are potent and palpable, and it's powerful. It's a really powerful movie. I don't know that I've really gotten that across enough. It is a powerful, striking movie that kind of leaves you wrenching at the end of it in a great way.
Well, I think what also too, Jay, to your point, this is a movie. By the end of it, you realize too the big loss is again a loss of innocence. Lila had that, and it's generational. Lila had that, and when she started this affair with Hurricane, that then created their son, her innocence and identity, like you're saying, was essentially gone. Her options are limited at that point. His rejection of then her, and his constant rejection of the idea of him having any consequences. And it's also, to me, Jay, and I don't know if you picked up on this, but I definitely picked up on this. And I feel like this is the reason why Franklin wanted to explore this too, is the racial dynamic in it. The young girl is an African American girl. The child is a biracial child, but in passing has black skin, or in his day to day is as a black child.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a white child in terms of skin color. And their roads, like you're mentioning, Jay, are going to be harder and tougher.
Also, Hurricane kind of has this understanding that he can just deny.
Yeah, and
he will kind of win.
And that is also just it is the privilege of being able to continue to go home, to continue to be with his wife.
Yeah. It's not just race, but it's also being law enforcement is also, I think, part of it.
Yeah. Oh, I think it plays with both, because he essentially gets to continue his life, and it is very easy for him, right? And he still, while this baby was born, while she lived in this town, moved away, and that child is on another side of town, he still looked at as a hero. He's still looked at as the good guy. And when you start to really unravel that, you realize he's not a good guy. What he's done is dig a hole and never actually confront the decisions and the ramifications of his actions.
Yeah.
And then gets to live like it's no big deal, or get to call the rules. Like, that's why when
he has the
argue,
privilege of acting like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, or being
happened.
like thinking that he's still in charge when he has just as less of a moral high ground to call them criminals or murderers.
He's in the wrong.
Yeah, he's in the wrong. And that's what makes then his decisions to kind of go rogue and handle this on his own, to then go into far deeper consequences when essentially everyone involved is dead. And what is left is this child, not only not looking at his mother in the lasting image the way that you would want to, but his biological father is sitting there saying, to remember me in the moments in which I was good, before I caused the death of every single stable parent in your life and every stable thing, and how he doesn't see that through his continued actions in
Hmm.
the capture of these three individuals of Pluto and Ray and Lila. He's not a hero anymore right there, because he's now inflicted his pain onto this child. And like you're saying, Jay, it's in a small town, and God knows what I mean, we saw in the film what happens to Lila when you are impacted as a minority and don't have the privileges to be able to rise out of your station. And it
Hmm.
becomes even more difficult in life if you don't have those pillars around you. Now still does, like, that child still has his grandmother, and he still has his his uncles and
Yeah,
his
that's true.
family
That's true
there.
too. He
But
basically
it's
has the
but
people
it
that he was raised by. It's true.
but I mean, to see that, it's traumatic and it's heartbreaking.
Oh yeah,
And
and just that
the
idea of that
movie
childhood
ends,
innocence, not understanding
it's
what
gone.
he's actually seeing, and well, no, he doesn't even understand what he's talking about. He's just like, "Hey,
No, no,
Mister,
no.
you okay?" And
No,
it's
I know
like,
he doesn't know what it is, but
right.
we know it's gone. Like, from
Well,
that moment
and yeah,
on,
when
that
he reflects on that, looking
yeah,
back, it'd be like, "Oh my God, that
yeah.
was."
And the way in which the
You don't
movie
come back from
cuts
that in the
to
same
the
way.
end, and Franklin basically, he ends it on a flash, essentially, where, like, it flashes to quiet um to the credits. And for
Hmm.
me, Jay, it almost was like a blink. Like, if you blink, and then it's and
Oh, sure.
everything in your life is gone. And I thought that that was a very smart, very interesting, and beautiful way to wrap it up. And it's quick too, right? Because those actions of violence, like, you can talk about it and talk about it and all this stuff, but then it's 20 seconds in the
Hmm.
movie, in real time. It's 20 seconds and your whole life's gone. Just like if you're making love and you're doing something wrong, and in 20 seconds to
Tell me more
an
about that.
hour, your whole life is flipped upside down at that point. And so
Yeah.
it's the little decisions, that and again, it goes back to, this is a damn good title when you really think about the small things going on in the film, and then the larger things that have happened in this world outside of it. It's a brilliant screenplay. And I can see why Franklin wanted to make this, because, like, it's so rich for you to inject himself as a filmmaker into it and make it his own. And he surely
Hmm.
does.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really great film. And I'll say, just kind of as my closing thought, there is one shot in this movie where Lila is getting on a bus, and then for, I would say, almost no reason at all, there's a plane that flies over the bus. It's like putting pesticides on the plants. And I was like, even in a small movie, they've got this, like, the coordination of that shot must have been an absolute nightmare. And they put it in because it looked good. We used to be a proper freaking country. I was just like, this is what I come to the movies for, is for stuff like this to be odd visually, even in a small movie where it's like, I've never seen anything like that before. And it rules. And Carl Franklin really has a cinematic visual flair that I appreciated in this movie a whole heck of a lot. So really, really good movie. Great start to the series. I'm really glad I watched this movie.
Me too. I think it's great. And it just, I can't reiterate. I mean, it's a lot of what Franklin talked about, which, like, for a movie like this, excuse me, Jay, the maturity of it, is
Yes.
of the screenplay. It's a very mature film. It's very mature, and you wouldn't think of it because, again, going back to it, movies like this, they get made a ton. You know what I mean? And everything, like, like, they just focus on the chase, or they focus on the maybe they do focus on one character versus the cop and everything, to juggle this whole thing. And to think about, like, what Franklin talked about. He said that the subtext of racial relations, the conflicts of, like, city life versus country life, I can't state enough
The city
Also,
life versus country life thing, I feel like, is something that is not explored terribly often in the movie, and I think
it's
he
mostly
captures that really well.
I think it is explored great through the interactions between the differentiality between the cops.
Yeah, the scene where
Um,
they're making fun of him at the diner, I think, is really good.
by the way, at that diner, I gotta say, $12 for 3 breakfasts. We used to be a country, and that food looked good. I'm not gonna lie. And but then also just the the power dynamics between Lila and Hurricane, and who holds the power really in someone being moral, and having any morality there. I just think it's a really, really smart movie. And it's an hour 45. So if you don't like it, you can get through it pretty goddamn quick, but it is a very thoughtful film. I will say that, and a great way to start the series. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed it a
Absolutely.
lot. Jay,
Yes.
before we get out of here, we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, which is One False Move, in a segment we like to call It's an Honor to be Nominated. It's an honor to get nominated. Sorry.
We really picked some weird directors for to have this be
A running bit.
a running segment on our. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it.
We'll get back to it. It'll balance itself back.
Nothing.
Like nothing. Yes, but Jay, do you want to know what it was nominated for?
Let me think. What would this be nominated? I don't even really know what the awards shows were back then.
Well,
Probably MTV Movie Award for Best Murder.
this was a big player, right? You ready?
Okay.
This
Ready?
was a big player in '93 at
AARP Awards.
the Indie Spirit Awards.
I actually didn't even know if those existed yet.
They did.
So
The Indie Spirits Awards have been around since 1986. So
okay,
that's good for you to know in case we talk about movies from
1986.
86. Till now, Carl Franklin won Best Director.
Wow. Okay,
beat-
that's cool.
He beat Quentin Tarantino for Reservoir Dogs,
Wow. That's
and
a big
Abel
deal.
Ferrara for Bad Lieutenant, and Allison Anders for Gas Food Lodging, and Tom Klein for Swoon. This movie was nominated in many categories, Jay. It was nominated for Best Feature, Franklin for Director, Williams for Lead Actress, Original Score, and which the score in the movie is pretty good, and the screenplay. But the film lost Best Feature. Do you want to guess what it lost to? It's a classic.
So it's a classic.
It's a 5-star from you, I believe.
Is it one that you have mentioned as
I have
another
not.
nominee?
I have not mentioned it, but we didn't.
1992.
So Michael Beach worked with a director on a movie called Shortcuts That You Love, and that man was
So this would
named
have been
Robert
the player.
Altman, and this was The Player. The Player won.
Mm.
The Player
Great
won
film.
Best Feature. The Best Feature nominees were Bad Lieutenant, Gas, Food, Lodging, Mississippi Masala, One False Move,
Mm.
and The Player.
That's a
Mississippi
good crop.
Masala. Myoneers film. That is a great film. Mississippi Masala. I don't know. Have you ever seen that movie, Jay?
Yeah, Denzel looking good.
What a snack
As
to post
always.
in that movie. Yeah, it was the year of the Crying Game. And so that won one award. The Water Dance. Don't know what that is. That won Best Screenplay. So, but this
Sure.
was
Sounds good.
This was the year of Clint.
Mm-hmm.
Clint won.
Oh, this would have been Unforgiven, right?
This is Unforgiven, 93.
Mm-hmm.
The ceremony of 93. The films of.
Is this
of course,
Pacino? Is
1993.
Pacino getting his
This
dub?
is Son of a Woman.
What did he sound like in that one?
Oh,
Yeah, that's peak Pacino impression.
I'm just getting warmed up.
You know, never seen that one. I need to
You've
watch
never
it.
seen. Okay. Son of a Woman.
Sounds bad. I'm gonna watch it.
It
wait.
is well, one, it's a remake,
Yes, it is.
and it's not good. This was the year of Emma Thomas for or Emma Thompson.
Is it a remake of it? It's not a
Howard's End.
Son of a Woman it's not an American film, right? The original is a French or Italian or something.
It is based off an Italian novel and
Yeah.
an Italian film from 1974,
Well, there you go.
which 1974 was the year of The Godfather Part 2, which is kind of crazy when you kind of think about all
Do
of
they
that
ever
there.
define the scent of a woman? I feel like that would be a bad idea.
I think when they remake that in about 20 years, they'll go into an in-depth discussion about the real scent of a woman.
I think Pacino should play him again.
You still be around?
Give him another crack at it.
Who do you think would play then the Chris O'Donnell character?
I don't know. Jake Paul.
Michael Cera?
You could probably still pull it off.
This was Hackman, Unforgiven.
Unforgiven. Yep. Great.
Yeah. I'd said Emma Thompson for Howard's End.
Mhm.
This was Marissa Tomei for My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, all-time crush.
This was Howard's End winning adapted screenplay and The Crying Game winning original screenplay. God,
Never seen that one either.
I don't know if you should.
I think I should.
Do you know what that movie's about?
No,
Do you know anything about that movie?
not really. Neil
Then-
Jordan directed it, correct?
Do not look up a thing. Just rent it and watch.
All right. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I would actually like the fact that you don't know anything about that, Jay, is actually kind of a good thing.
Okay.
Okay. So,
All right.
but
I'm
it
gonna watch
also
it.
is, it's also a movie that is aged impeccably poorly, just like Scent of a Woman. So,
Okay. All right. Oscar winner.
considering the fact that One False Move is not a screenplay nominee, which I mean, it makes sense. It was a small movie then, but
It kind of came and went, to be honest,
but
at the time.
yeah, like the original. I mean, that's where I think you put this
Was
movie
this,
in, right?
did Malcolm X come out this year?
Correct.
That is heinous.
Malcolm X was nominated for costumes and Denzel, and that's it.
Great job,
That-
everybody. Good
that's-
work all around.
Really, really screwed it up. Oh wait, no, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought for a second I was.
So what would I nominate this movie for?
I think easily you got to put it in screenplay.
See, I haven't seen some of these movies, so it's hard to say, but
Well, you've seen Lorenzo's Oil.
I have. I think this is better than Lorenzo's Oil.
Well, there you go. Then you can just take that out. I mean, you
Put it
seen
in screenplay.
Forgiven. You like it more than Unforgiven?
No, I think Unforgiven is better
Unforgiven.
than this. But
Unforgiven's Clint's best. Bridges.
you're forgetting about that train.
Oh,
You're forgetting about the 1517.
how excited are you for the jury? For jury,
I'm
jury number two.
I'm pretty pumped.
What are you more excited for, juror number 2 or here?
Oh my God. Both. You know what honestly might be Clint's best? Those bridges.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's either that or Bridges, right?
Oh, I must not have heard you again.
Yeah.
I need to start listening to you on this podcast. Good grief.
Yeah, I say interesting things every now and then, Jay. We haven't been.
I doubt it.
Are
I haven't heard one yet.
Are we at that 6-year relationship of being friends and podcasters where you're just tuning me
I'm
out?
getting that 6-year podcast.
Oh, okay.
host
So this
itch,
is just
the
now.
6-year itch.
This is just turning into my marriage at this point. Then.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
might as well. Yeah. We spend enough time with each other. I'm over it.
Yeah. Are we gonna have to do
I want
counseling?
to. I want to get on the Kelsey cast. I want to be on Gilbert Arenas' podcast.
That's the goal. What is the worst podcast you've ever heard?
The worst podcast. Well, I think we can't say that on this show. I don't think. I think that would be mean to some people.
But like,
who-
no, I'm talking about like of the really famous ones, I guess you could say.
Okay, so
I'm sorry for now our listeners are going to go, what is his real answer? But anyway, no, like for real of the big top 200
man.
podcasts, I guess.
well, I'm sure there's like some big show that I've listened to ironically and been like, what is the deal with this thing?
You're a big Rogan guy.
When is he coming on the pod?
I just think he doesn't have anything interesting to say.
No, I agree with you, but it's
He just
not.
gets guests. That's all.
Yeah, but that's half the battle, though. I mean,
I I think the worst.
that's too boring an answer, though.
It's
I'm not
really
gonna
a
say that.
boring answer. No, I will just say like I think
I've been loving Talk Tua though.
is that really a show?
Yeah, it's from the Hawk
The
Tua
Hawk
girl.
Tua girl. I thought that you were saying like Tua Tagovailoa had a podcast, and I'm like,
No,
well, they've been taking a couple of weeks off for him.
the Hawk Tua girl has a podcast called Talk Tua.
I think the worst podcast is probably Bill Maher's podcast,
Oh, what's it called?
Club Random.
Club Random. See,
Anytime you see clips of that thing, you
that
just want to jump
is
off a bridge.
that is gloriously bad, though. I've seen
Is
some
it
of
like a
that,
trash
and I'm
piece?
like, yes, that's exactly what it is. He had the Hawk Tua girl on.
That was a show.
Yeah,
See, I'm bad at this. I'll watch some of these shows and then
we need to do. Oh, I'm so bad about like my
You go to-
YouTube algorithm is a disaster.
It's trash at this point. It's
It is like,
mine
here's this
trash.
thing that I hate watched, and now it's like, would you like to watch the worst thing you've ever seen? We think you'd probably like it.
Yeah, my algorithm is, because you watch, and also too, you watch one video or maybe you like something funny and then you get like 900 of the same things now.
That's true. That's true.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. I won't say like my least favorite podcast out there, but if you don't have good audio, I'm done with you. Or if you're
agreed. That's the worst.
team overall has inconsistent audio,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm done with you. Does that make
Agreed.
sense?
Agreed.
Like, it's an audio podcast.
I listened
like,
to a podcast recently that had an audible air conditioning unit the entire time. And I listened to the whole thing just to see if they ever fixed it.
If you're going to do a
and they
podcast,
didn't.
you're going to need to spend at least $100 on a mic.
Agreed. You got to get a mic.
You got to get a mic like this. And it's not hard. Like I've gone through.
Not hard.
How many mics have you gone through in the 6 years we've done this?
Not that many. I might only be on my second.
Oh no, I mean I've gone on 2. Like this is my second, but
but that's 6 years.
yeah, 6 years. That's actually
I've
really
had as
good.
many cars as mics in that time. Actually, I might have had more cars.
I have had 3 cars, but one of them got totaled.
Yeah, mine did as well. And now my Cybertruck is awesome.
What do you think of those? Like they are the most
They
ugliest.
are so ugly. Oh my God.
I hate them. I think that they're just, yeah, they look like they're,
Not only are they ugly, but then you think about the person inside driving it, and you're just like, I know I don't like you.
it's just a big douche inside that car driving
Some
it.
crypto.
Sorry
crypto bro.
if you're one of our listeners that drives one of those, but like those cars
prove us wrong.
prove
That's
us
what I'll say to you.
wrong that you're not driving a car from a company that's just one of the fucking worst on the planet.
Yeah. Anyway,
So,
screenplay.
Screenplay.
Maybe Paxton. I think
I thought
Paxton was
William-
spectacular.
Would you put Williams in supporting? She'd be a supporting player. She got lead actress for
I
a bunch
haven't
of stuff.
seen very many of these at all. I'd definitely throw her in.
Listen, it's not a very good
in a
actress
hat.
lineup. I'd put her in
Okay.
an actress. Yeah, I'd
All
take
right.
I'd take them all out except Thompson, honestly. And then
I
I
don't know that I go all the way to cinematography, although I'm sure I like the cinematography.
I don't know
of
who-
some of these
I mean, I
more
could
than some
kick
of
out-
these.
I mean, I would put Paxton in. I kick out either Ray or Pacino.
Dracula didn't get a cinematography. Come on now.
Was that the same year too?
What are we doing? Yeah, because it got a costume
Oh,
design.
Gary Oldman would totally get into this lineup for me. That guy,
Keanu.
you would put Keanu in supporting actor?
Absolutely terrible performance.
Cruz should be in for actor.
Or what was this year?
A Few Good Men.
Oh, yes.
He's
Close,
great in that
close.
movie.
Yes.
That's a
All
great. That's a great movie. We should do that series.
Reiner?
Yeah,
I'm just trying to get to late Reiner when it really starts heating up.
I think we should do all the good ones and then the bucket list, and then that's it for the.
I think we should do only the bad ones.
You think we should only do the bad ones?
I'm sick of people listening to this podcast. I'm over it.
This is like your highlight of the week, and you're already over it.
I'm done. 6-year itch.
Who do you think is like of our is Sophia our like counselor?
Like Michael Fassbender?
Well, no, well, okay, sure, but like that we're saying like we're not listening to each other anymore. Do we need to like go to like a podcast counselor or something like that?
Sophia
Eric,
can't fix this.
Eric can't fix this.
Mm-mm,
Who
nobody
could
can.
who could fix it? Gilbert Arenas.
Bill Paxton, unfortunately,
Man, well, it's a little too late for that.
missed that train.
Yeah, it's a good year. Some great movies this year, Jay. Right?
There's some good ones.
93
I'm
or
trying to look at
92,
stuff
I
that
mean.
wasn't nominated.
Aladdin's good. River Runs Through It's good. That's good. Under Siege.
Rock solid stuff. Oh,
You
Under
love
Siege. Yeah, yeah,
you love Under Siege.
yeah.
You love The Bodyguard.
What have we got here? Oh, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Hello.
Mohicans.
Oh, there's actually some good stuff. Yeah, Batman Returns is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Porco Rosso.
Basic Instinct.
Muppet Christmas Carol.
Death Becomes Her.
Glengarry.
Glengarry.
White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah, it's a good year.
Deep Cover. Love Deep Cover.
Something with yeah. I wish this year was as deep as that year.
There's some good stuff.
There's some good stuff this year, but it's just not.
Very
you look
cool.
back and you're like, damn, there's a lot of bangers on this list. So, Jay,
Yes.
can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet, as well as also give our friends out there a recommendation of the week and not a bad podcast or anything?
Okay, I'll do my
Like a
best.
movie.
So you can find me on Letterboxd, J Ledbetter, Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter.
Mhm.
Find any written work I may be doing on AwardsWatch and recommendation of the week. How about this, Ryan? I don't even think you knew this. I watched All About Eve for the first time.
Did you finally watch All About Eve?
That's a banger.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. Banger.
Like literally last week we talked about that. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I'm putting the work in.
What was your favorite part about it?
That's all I got. I don't know, the performances. I like the narration too. It's a pretty good movie.
It's like a pretty undeniable all-timer, right?
No, it is like one that you have to just recommend to everybody.
You watch it and you're like, I get it. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
that's one that I can safely recommend to, I can't recommend The Tree of Life to everybody in good faith. I can recommend, even for people who are sort of like, it's old and blah. I'm like, trust me, it's great. You'll love it.
It's
a really good movie, and it's a really thoughtful movie too. I think kind of underrated in that regard. It's great.
Yeah, it is. It's also one of Todd Haynes' favorite movies of all time.
Star of Eagle Eye 2, Eye of the Eagle.
No, that's
2?
Todd Field. I'm talking about Todd Haynes.
I was trying to wrap it.
You were trying to do it. You see what happens when you get cute.
But we also covered him on the podcast.
This also happens when you don't listen. Again, see, this third time.
Oh, I was wondering, have you seen Saw X?
Well, funny you mentioned that. That's my recommendation of the week. There you go. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, or McQuade77. You can find all my work at awardswatch.com with this whack job over here. You like podcasts. If you like podcasts and you're tired of listening to this one, you can go over and listen to the Awards Watch podcast. The main one is released Mondays and sometimes on Wednesdays.
Rogan
iTunes.
was just on.
What?
Rogan was just on.
No, he was not.
What? Seth.
Sorry. Seth Rogen, probably more likely. Do you have a Seth Rogen impression? iTunes 5 stars, and same on Spotify, or you're on the website. Please sign up for the newsletter. It's the best place to get all of the stuff going on the website in one place. Recommendation of the week. It's out now. There's a Netflix documentary called Will and Harper, and it was out at
Gotta
the
watch that.
Sundance Film Festival. The film is about Will Ferrell and his friend Harper Steele, and it is about them going on a road trip across the country from New York to California. And it's sort of to reintroduce Harper to the country and also to Farrell as a friend and their connection as she has just transitioned into being a woman. And it's a beautiful film. Jay, I've been kind of lukewarm on a lot of Farrell's work, and Farrell's one of our guys.
That's being generous,
That's
lukewarm.
being very
But
generous. Yeah. Even like his work in Barbie last year, I was like,
oh, he's the worst
this
part
is,
of Barbie.
yeah, he's the worst part of it. But
I didn't even like Eurovision, which a lot of people liked.
but I gotta say, I think this might be the best thing that he's done in years, because it really showcases just this friendship, and that's as simple as you need to do. And it's the movie asks, I think, a lot of socially interesting questions for anyone that has had to, had somebody in their life that's transitioned and they have questions about it. I don't think it dives nearly as much into anything like politically, or trying to, there's a scene with a Republican governor in it, and there's contemplation, but it really is about how specifically Harper and Will handle this news and grow their friendship of over 25 years into its new form and stage. And I think it's really beautiful. The film is directed by Josh Greenbaum, who did Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. And it's really
it's a weird pivot.
It's a really well, I mean, he probably knows them all through SNL.
Right.
And Harper Steele was a former head writer over at SNL. And there's some cameos in the film from other great SNL contributors like Seth Meyers and Tim Meadows and Tina Fey and Will Forte and Kristen Wiig, who has a great bit that goes on throughout the film. And there's great bits that goes along with all the heartfelt, emotional moments. I was really taken by it, Jay, and I think everybody should give it a watch. It's only an hour 40, and it was a really beautiful film, in my opinion. So it's on Netflix. Will and Harper, probably one of the best documentaries I've seen this year. For sure.
You got to check it out.
Got to check it out. Well, that's going to do it for this show. We will be back next week. We're going to be talking about Devil in a Blue Dress.
Or is it a gold dress?
Remember that? You're doing that. Oh, God damn it. You're doing that thing? You're bringing that back?
I actually should have saved it for the intro of next week's episode.
Really should have.
Now nobody's going to listen to it. Everybody turn the podcast off already.
Devil in a Blue Dress. We're back in Denzel mode next week on this podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.